coming to you live on YouTube. This is an episode of season 6 of the Dr. Tech Show, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and often guests, talk about digital topics, including the world of online communications and digital inclusion, tech for good, generally, in a show which was the brainchild of digital storyteller, the late John Popham. Sweyn, how are you? How's the weather been this week where you are?
I'm very well, thank you. And the weather has been everything. Torrential rain yesterday. Very cold, but lots of bright sunshine. Only a little bit beneath what we would expect at this time of year. How
Okay, and
about
have you
you?
been have you been have you been traveling elsewhere in the country?
I have been down to St. Albans and back to pick up a new
Wow.
car.
Okay.
So yes, that was a great fun trip, and the car is great. And our old car will go back to the leasing company next Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. So how about weather
Fabulous.
in where you are in Ireland?
Well, I'm in Ireland and Clare this week, but I've also been to England in the last couple of
Mhm.
days. So I've had the weather was warmer here when I left, a little bit cooler in Birmingham, but still very nice. And it's now lots of grey in the sky over there, but there's also some white clouds, so that bodes well. Maybe for the afternoon, I might get some more proper weather, more good weather. Um, yeah, but it's been fine. The usual amounts of rain for this time of year in Ireland, so can't complain about that. But yeah, good to be back. And kind of presenting our program again today. So you've got some dates for us.
I do, and the first one is courtesy of the Historical Association, which is describes itself as the voice for local history. And it is Local and Community History Month. And I
Mm,
thought this would be one that John Popham might have liked the sound of, given his localism and his activism and his love of history as well.
mm-hmm,
So May, the whole of May is Local and Community History Month. And the aim of the month is to increase awareness of local history, promote history in general to the local community, and encourage all members of the community to participate. Activities happen across the UK and include trips, library exhibitions, local lectures, and much more as well. It's a great way for groups to highlight local history and for local people to get involved.
mm,
And there is actually a calendar of events nationally as well. So there's the calendar of events
mm.
um, that Historical Association have set up.
All over the
So
country. Oh, right,
yes,
gives all the regions and everything.
yes, that's
Excellent.
right.
Mm,
You can have event type.
mm-hmm.
Um, you can have you can pick any of the regions. There's Scotland as a region, not as usual. Tut, tut, tut. There's there's branches of the Historical Association as
Mm-hmm.
well. So you can search through all of
Mm,
those things.
lovely.
Now then, so that's that. So the next one I found is called um, National Walking Month.
Mm,
I've got quite a slight personal reason for choosing this, in that as from the 15th of May, I'm going to be doing a walking challenge
ah,
in aid of medical assistance for Palestinians. And the challenge is that I'm going to be walking 186 kilometers, but don't worry, I've got 6 weeks to do it, starting on the 15th of May, which I've worked out is approximately 2 3/4 miles a day, which isn't
mm.
much per day, but it is every day. So so that's what I'm going to be doing.
Are
So
you
but I
walking
so I,
to somewhere or just doing that amount of walking?
no, the distance is chosen because it's the distance from Nablus in the north of Palestine to the southernmost tip of Palestine. Um,
Okay.
that's why the distance
Yeah.
is as it is. I'll be using special walks with the dog, for which I
Mm.
have installed Strava, which I never had, or Strava, which I've never had before. Don't really understand how it's working yet. And also, I'll be counting steps that I do in my normal everyday,
Mm-hmm.
life as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but anyway,
Good.
May is Living Streets National Walking Month. Now, Living Streets is the charity which promotes the interests of pedestrians and
Mm.
and wheelers,
Mm-hmm.
as we now say, uh, as opposed to motorists and probably more in alliance with cyclists. Um, so May is as I say, National Walking Month. And this year they're highlighting the benefits of walking for women. And we're asking for women to hash walk out, to get outside for a walk or wheel each day in May for their own health, well-being and enjoyment. And the call for women to walk out for National Walking Month is in recognition of women being more likely to make multi-purpose journeys, such as combining school drop-offs, care responsibilities, and errands within a single trip. And the idea is that women
Mm,
might like to walk for themselves and for their own enjoyment in that sort of context. And there's a mass walkout for all, which is happening on the 29th of May to mark National Walking Month. And there's details there about how to join in with that. Um, so that's National
mm, brilliant.
Walking Week, month. What
Mm,
did I say? Month.
month, yeah.
Month, yes. And finally, I'm not going to unshare and share the screen, but I'm going to go straight to the next one. Finally, I've selected this one called, which uh, is a week. It's Dying Matters Week, and it takes place from the 4th to the 10th of May. Oh well, I've just missed this one, haven't I? Because we're on the 11th of May. But anyway, the topic is important. Um, it, this year's theme is Let's Talk About Death and Dying.
Hmm.
And the mission of Dying Matters, which is the charity whose page we're on, is to break down the stigma and taboo of talking about death and dying. But sometimes it's hard to know where to start. 27% of people, they say, find it hard to talk about death with family or friends, and 30% bottle up their feelings. And if we don't talk about death and dying and bereavement, it can be harder to cope with when we experience it. And that was from a poll commissioned by Celebration Day in 2025.
Mm,
Death, dying, and bereavement affect everyone, and this Dying Matters Awareness Week, we're focusing on the importance of conversations about death and dying with family, friends, employers, anyone in your life, helping you to get the conversation started because talking about dying matters, they say.
mm,
And again, there's various ways that you can take part in what's going on. Although, as I say, I didn't realize it was last week, not this week,
mm.
so we've slightly missed the boat for this year, but we'll give it a mention all the same. And that is the dates for
Great.
this week.
About the dying, I think it's still fine to have the conversation anytime, anyway,
Mm,
even if you
mm.
missed it last week. I also am a great fan of Swedish death cleaning, where you kind
Oh
of
yes,
get rid of stuff before you die so that your family and friends don't have to, you know,
yes.
wonder about what your wishes were about various things.
I've got a lot of
Um,
work to do in that regard.
me too. And also working with my mum on that as well. But there's a lot of feelings attached to things, so it's good to talk about it when you have time.
Yeah.
So you know what people want in the end.
So having
Great.
started late today, tisk tisk tisk, all my fault. We're going to finish about 5 minutes early, but
Yeah,
let's go on to your events that you've chosen
sure.
for this week.
Okay. So the first event is happening from the 19th to the 21st of May, and it's Bath Digital Festival, which has been happening for a few years now. And this year they're describing it as 3 days of big questions, bold thinking, and open experimentation, building the festival around one simple idea: what if? Asking the question, what if? It's not just a theme, it's an invitation to challenge assumptions, explore new possibilities, and get involved in shaping what comes next. Expect practical insight, creative collisions, and real conversations, from live demos and hands on sessions to founder stories, showcases, panels, and the unexpected moments in between. And this is organised by a group called Tech Spark, the not for profit Bristol and Bath Growth Network. They describe themselves as working to spark new ideas and collaborations, facilitate knowledge exchange, and upskill from the back room to the boardroom. I've been part of Bath Digital Festival myself in the past, and it's always a great event. As usual, the sessions which Sweyn is showing you on screen now are many and varied, but also the conversations in between sessions can also be very fruitful. So if you're in the area, I'm sure they'd love to see you, and I think you can go to as many or as few sessions as you'd like to. So well done to TechSpark for organising that
I think
again
it's
this year.
inviting you to register for each session.
Okay,
Um, I don't know, I've lost it now. Oh well,
okay,
it's gone now.
yeah,
Get to
okay.
the Bath Digital Festival on the 19th of May. That's the message.
That's the start of it. Yeah, great stuff. Okay, moving on, and this is next event is actually for a specific group in um, community alliance member organizations operating in Broxbourne and East Hearts districts. But I thought the theme was interesting and might inspire other people to do something similar. And the title, and this is on the Thursday, 21st of May. The title is From Bids to Delivery: Using Tech to Budget, Write, and Report Smarter. So lots of volunteer organizations, obviously need to write bids all the time, and if we can use technology to make it a bit easier, then that's all to the good as far as we're concerned. So this workshop is described as will provide you with all the crucial elements for successful fundraising by exploring how to use digital tools to design stronger projects, manage delivery more efficiently, and demonstrate impact more clearly. The blurb says you will learn how to present as funding ready and capable of delivering high quality measurable projects. Through effective use of technology, you will be able to demonstrate outcomes, budget smarter, write clearer proposals, and report more effectively. The session will also look at how collaborative working and shared digital processes with partners can expand reach, strengthen evidence of impact, and increase the attractiveness of your project to funders and stakeholders. Together, you can explore practical ways to streamline monitoring, evaluation, and communication to support both fundraising and long term sustainability. And so the session apparently will leave you with example project content that can be adapted for proposals and funding applications, a list of potential marketing or delivery partners who could strengthen bids, and useful online training links to continue building digital evaluation and fundraising skills. As I say, it's only for member organizations of VCSFE Community Alliance in Broxbourne and East Hearts, but it sounds like something that other people could take up and do as well if they wanted to. And
Maybe we can maybe we can get someone who's involved on as a guest someday.
that would be wonderful. And
Yeah.
yeah, to see how it went, because yeah, always good to be encouraging our sector to
Hmm.
use technology more to help them. Okay, and moving on, again on the 21st of May in Croydon with our friends Clear Community Web, one of the partners in this event. It's called Digital Horizons, and this is the second of a series of events. And they describe it as an opportunity to try new things and find out about local support available. They say we will cover a wide range of subjects, including top tips to stay safe online, the HMRC app, um, exploring library services online, secure your social media accounts, managing your health online, introduction to AI, being a digital champion, and connecting with the community. And the speakers, as I say,
Wow.
will include Clear Community Web, Croydon Libraries, and Barclays. So quite a range there,
That's
Sweyn,
quite
huh?
a range all in one
Hmm.
afternoon. Wow,
Yeah, yeah,
they're going to have to go some to cover all that. But it's great to see all the things on the list. And
absolutely.
even if they don't manage to cover absolutely everything on the day, I'm sure they can come back to it and people
Absolutely,
at
and
least
it
get a
shows
point out.
the kind of things that because all these partners will know what
Yeah,
local people want. So this is the kind of thing people are asking about, um, and having an introduction to AI as well shows that there's lots of learning going on, and well done to them for organizing a session where people can do that. And our final event that I've picked up along the way, and this is a kind of a earlier than usual mention, but they are asking people to sign up again for events, and this is on the 9th of June in Birmingham. It's called Civi Camp Birmingham 2026, and it's for people who are either getting started or ready to use the next step for Civi CRM day to day and learn what has worked for them. And to explain, Civi CRM is an open source constituent relationship management system that is built
ooh,
and maintained by a dedicated community of professional fundraisers, non-profit directors, and software developers, people just like you, it says in the blurb. Is a powerful, flexible, highly customizable CRM platform used by non-profit and civic sector organizations focused on solving real-world problems. Translated into 30 plus languages and used by thousands of organizations around the world, Civi CRM is an open source alternative to inflexible, expensive, proprietary CRM systems such as Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, Razor's Edge, and so much many more. That is the quote from the organization behind Civi CRM. So we're not saying that, but it's we're bringing you the information for you to
yeah.
make your own judgment. Um, so yeah, have you ever used CVCRM or do you know much about it, Swain?
I don't think I've ever heard of it before
Oh,
until
okay.
until this story.
Right.
Maybe I have. I've got a terrible memory, but no, I don't think so.
Mm.
Um,
Michael McAndrew, who was involved in the Tech for Good Founders Network, a couple of years ago, has come back from Sweden recently, and he mentioned this on LinkedIn, so I picked it up from him there. Um, but I mean, I've always found, I haven't used it myself either, but I found people who are involved in this network, like so many of the social helping networks that we're familiar with, are really helpful and want people to be able to benefit from this resource. I remember a few years ago when I was running NetSquared Midlands as it was then, I ran a session on CRMs for voluntary organizations, and it was one of the most signed up to sessions that I ever ran with that network. So I know there's interest there, and every organization that I know of now uses a CRM, at least one, if not more,
yes,
because often councils insist on using certain
yes,
CRMs. But this sounds like one that would be relevant and useful for lots of volunteer organizations that we know
absolutely,
of. So yeah, if
absolutely.
you are interested in, please do sign up for this. Um, and again, as Swain said earlier, if somebody wants to come on the show and talk about what their experience of using this or other technology, we'd love to hear from you and we'd love to have you on the show. Okay, and that's the end of the events for this season. So, or sorry, this episode.
So steady, steady.
Peaking too soon there.
There's a few weeks
Okay.
left in this season
A
yet.
few weeks there are, yes, indeed. And as we're saying, we welcome guests. We are talking to a couple of people who might join us on the show before the end of this season. But if they don't make it this season, we'll have them for next season. So please do think about coming on the show. We're very kind of we don't try not to scare people off. We're low production value, so it's very relaxed. Um, and
Realistic production
yeah, it
values.
is. Really,
Yeah.
sorry, yes,
For
realistic.
our
Yes,
budget, which is zero. That's
yes, indeed. Okay, let's move on to the first of our stories then for today's show, and this is one from Dr. Eugene Fram entitled "Can Virtual Meetings Be Humanized?" And this is from the non. I think it's just a blog post that he's
I think
posted.
so, yes.
Yeah. So it's obviously in all our shows, the link to this item will be on our show notes. But just to give you a flavor of the content, Dr. Fram is suggesting more but shorter meetings. For example, instead of monthly board meetings, schedule meetings every 2 months. So, um, uh,
That
more
doesn't
but
make
short. More
sense.
that's no, it doesn't actually.
Must mean schedule meetings twice a month.
Yes, it must mean. Yes, yes. We're going to
Yeah,
assume that's what it means because it's not
yeah.
monthly. Onboarding new board members is the next suggestion. Arranging for the new member to have brief individual virtual meetings with other board members and senior managements is hopefully a quick fix to a problem. So yeah, I know I've joined
That's a
new
good
boards
idea.
in the past and
Yeah,
floundered a bit at the beginning.
yeah.
So if I'd met everybody before meetings, it would have made it so much easier. Um, the next suggestion is around strategic planning. Dr. Fram writes that it was evident in the pre-COVID period that strategic planning needs to have a longer focus than the traditional 3 to 5 year plan in order to achieve organizational sustainability. He says there's enough evidence of post-COVID changes to continue strategic planning with small committees. This involves more frequent but shorter virtual meetings for the planning committee and updates to the board. So again, more meetings but shorter. And then the next suggestion is around building trust. Having trust among board colleagues is critical to having a fully functioning board. There are several actions board chairs and our CEOs can take to help members to be better acquainted, hoping to lead to trusting relationships. So the some of the suggestions are good and welfare periods. So at the beginning or end of the virtual meeting, ask members to share personal or professional events. So learn a
Oh,
bit more
yes.
about people. Outside the presentation at a virtual meeting, arrange for a local or national authority to briefly talk about a mission-related topic. Very good. And then a third or suggestion is to invite the board members or management spouses or significant others to also be involved. I assume that would mean at social events rather than joining the board meeting itself. Maybe that could be included in a virtual meeting to just kind of have people pop in and say hello, like cats and dogs and other pets used to appear at meetings during COVID on screen. Another suggestion is about other interests. Invite board members and management persons to discuss unusual skills they have or other groups to which they belong that promotes the public interest. Sounds interesting. And finally, board education, where possible, continue board education via a virtual approach. And I've again been on boards where some of the training that was done was in a kind of individually we'd have to sign up to certain websites and do online
Mm,
training, and that worked really well actually.
mm.
I always enjoyed um, completing sessions, doing questionnaires, learning. I love
I think
learning.
that's a
So,
really interesting article, actually.
mm,
And it's, I mean, obviously, geographically, I'm quite often in virtual meetings instead of
mm,
in-person meetings. Sometimes I'm even one of only a couple of people that are not in the room.
mm,
And I think these could be easily adapted, these principles could be easily adapted to properly include people in that situation as well.
mm,
And I also, I'm going to use some of these points as ways of bolstering continuing doing virtual meetings for those who can't necessarily travel,
mm,
rather than just say, oh, well, they're not as good as real meetings. We
yeah,
can actually make them better
mm,
in these ways.
mm,
So I was really taken with
yeah,
that item.
good.
Usually every week there's at least one that really takes me, and this is it this
Mm,
week.
okay, brilliant. Okie dokie. So we are moving on to another piece that we picked up, and this is from featuring a friend of ours, Emma Weston, the founder of Digital Unite, and we're going to hear a bit from a podcast that she featured in. Um, and this is described as Emma Weston, founder of Digital Unite, joins Don Birch and Sarah Arif to explore why digital exclusion persists after 30 years and argues that inclusion must be treated as a core organizational responsibility rather than a short-term project. And the title is What Does Digital Inclusion Really Mean in a World Rushing Towards AI, Automation and Digital-First Services? So, Sweyn, if you're able to play the first 4 minutes of this podcast,
First
please.
4 minutes are
Yeah.
coming up. Are we sharing? Yes, we are. Here we go.
Welcome back to the Up and Away podcast from Tiny Medical Apps. This is the podcast where we get to speak to influential digital leaders from across the sector. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Emma Weston, who is the founder of Digital Unite, one of the UK's most innovative organisations focused on digital inclusion. Now, she's somebody who's been quietly and persistently holding a really important line for over 30 years. She works across public, private and third sector organisations to not just talk about inclusion, but to actually make it happen. That means shaping policy, yes, but also designing practical learning, training and real-world support that helps people build the confidence and the skills they need to navigate an increasingly digital world. What I love about Emma's perspective is that she doesn't see digital inclusion as someone else's problem. She believes that if you're digitally included, you have a responsibility to share your knowledge, your time, and your curiosity with those who aren't. And that's where this conversation is going to go, because while we talk a lot about digital transformation, AI, and innovation, there's a big question sitting underneath it all. Who are we leaving behind? Right, let's dive in. Emma, welcome to the Up and Away podcast.
Thank you very much. It's very lovely to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
No, absolute pleasure. Now, Sarah, my co-host, is also on. Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Now, you and Emma know each other. Just let's set the scene then. Where did you cross paths originally, Sarah, with Emma?
So I met Emma when I was working in the NHS. So I was leading up a digital citizen and digital innovation program in Northwest London, CCGs. And I had a massive program around how do we upskill local residents, local patients to become digital ambassadors. And I came across the Digital Unite organization. I met Emma, and I think we just kind of clicked from there. And we had so many ideas coming out of like what I was doing, what she was doing. And we sat down and we talked about how we could sort of, collaborate, how we could integrate some of the work that Emma was doing in the NHS. So it kind of all kick-started a few years back, didn't it, Emma?
I feel like I've known you for so long, Sarah, that I always think, where did we first start?
It's been a few years.
Yeah, that's about right.
Emma, you've been at this now 30 years. What's kept you in the fight?
A number of people have asked me this because it's our 30-year anniversary. And I think the answer is I basically believe in a fairer, equitable world for as many people as possible, right? That's kind of really at the basis of the work we're doing at Digital Unite. And although when I started 30 years ago, I certainly actually had no idea I would be doing it 30 years later. I suppose the work I do and the work we do at Digital Unite sort of fits with that personal. I guess it's my personal North Star. So it's Digital Unite's North Star. And I think it's taken me somewhat by surprise and somehow not surprising to realise that it's still not done in 30 years. We still have a very big digital exclusion problem. I think rather naively 30 years ago, I thought, oh, maybe I'll do this for 5 years or something, So that's kind of stretched.
It reminds me of a conversation Greg and Matt had. It was up here in Bradford, funnily enough, with David Stables, who I think set up EMIS or whatever. And he was kind of going, I love what you guys are doing. It's going to take you 10 years. And that was just coming up to 10 years ago. And I think Matt and sort of Greg looked at each other and thought, nah, we'll have this done in 3. It's sort of like, if you knew then how long it was going to take, you might not have had the energy to get started. But when you say that you hold the vision, what does that mean on a sort of day-to-day basis?
I think part of holding the vision at DU has been about being consistent with that vision, because a lot of sort of stuff comes in and out of the whole digital thing. When I say thing, I mean transformation, I mean skills, I mean, the whole area really. I think I've been very consistent about saying, because this issue is so big, that the only way we're going to really be able to tackle it sustainably and systematically is if people support other people, right? There's no way to get to every individual in the country who needs help and support with digital by a mass training program that doesn't involve other people, if you see what I mean. So a sort of train the trainer champion model. I've always been very sure, just because of the numbers, and again, I think it's a structural thing, we're not going to be able to really tackle this as a country if we are not empowering people to help other people. So holding that vision means, I suppose, I've had that as the core thing DU was going to do and concentrate on, and I've held on to that, I suppose. And I think over the 30 years, I've seen a lot of things come and go in terms of digital inclusion. I've seen a lot of campaigns. I've seen a lot of big initiatives that last 3 years, maybe, a bit more. But I've sort of kept standing up under my signpost, I suppose. We're going to have to keep coming back to this. It's almost like an internal, sort of eternal truth, I think.
We could listen to Emma forever. She's just so...
We certainly could.
Yeah, she's just so brilliant.
A bit there because I didn't want to interrupt her, but...
Yeah, we must have her back on the show again. She's
about consistency involving people using what we already know works. The Scottish government, and other things, just keeping at it steadily instead of trying to reinvent the wheel constantly. I think she was very diplomatic there about saying that she's seen things come and go. What I think she's trying to say is she's seen government, especially, over and over again, try to innovate their way out of a problem that is a problem of scale and a straightforward problem of involving people in helping people. It's not about fancy innovatory rubbish, actually, in the end. Although obviously around the edges there might be 5 or 10% of innovation that can help us get things done more effectively. Not arguing against that, but to stand all of this effort up on having to be innovative because we haven't managed to do so much in the past. Well, the reason we haven't managed to do so much in the past is mainly because we haven't focused enough on involving people to enable them to help other people. It's not complicated.
No, And it's, we both know it's a strong British value for being able to help each other, and just need to capitalize on that. Can be very simple, really.
The other thing I would
Okay.
say is where projects that are based on the champion model have had adequate resources, they've done fantastic, phenomenally excellent work.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not difficult.
Yeah. Fund what works. It's a pretty simple, really. Okay, so we move on to a story from Queensland. As we often do on this show, we aim to learn from everywhere in the world. We're not confined to one geography. And this is from an article by Kay Grant Harris, picked up on LinkedIn, and the title is "The CDIO Journey: Digital Inclusion is Not Optional." I think CDIO stands for Digital Inclusion Officer, something Digital Inclusion Officer. Anyway, you can look that up
Chief
yourselves.
Digital Inclusion Officer will be.
Okay, there we go. So, the the writer says that in Queensland, the Human Rights Act requires public entities to consider the impact of technology decisions on people who may be excluded. Mandatory accessibility standards apply to government websites and digital services. I think that's the same in the UK, isn't it? The mandatory accessibility standards, the Web
Yes.
2.0, yeah. But in Queensland, apparently, it isn't just good practice; it's law. And when this
It's law in
person,
the UK as well. You wouldn't
okay,
know it.
okay, it's not in the Human Rights Act, though, is it?
No,
No,
it's not. No,
no,
you're right
yeah.
there.
So that's where
No.
it's a bit different. So this person says when they build a digital strategy, digital inclusion will be a design principle, not an afterthought. Every initiative will be assessed against a simple question: does this make things better for all ratepayers, as they call them in Queensland, or just the ones who are already comfortable online? And that's the key thing, often we see things that just assume a level of digital skill that doesn't exist, and it's important to be aware of that. The
I think
headline.
that's if you had to summarize what organizations need to ask themselves in one question, that's a really good one of doing it,
Yeah.
actually.
Are they comfortable online? Yeah.
Does this make things better for all people, or just for the ones who are already comfortable online? Answer
Yeah.
that question honestly, and you'll get a
Yeah.
long way towards digital inclusion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The subtitle says the community is already telling us. The community engagement that informed the region's smart technology strategy explicitly said we want more online services, but we also want digital skills development. And again, a very clear statement there. They're not asking to be left behind, they're asking to be brought along, and that's a mandate we're delivering on. There's more in the article, and we will include the link in the show notes. But I just thought it was a very good example. And at the beginning of that story, it gave us an illustration of an older person who I was trying to get online for some reason, and so it's well worth reading, and give some, again, simple truths. It doesn't have to be complicated. People want to be brought along on the journey. Okay, and our next item is back to the UK, and it's the Digital Knots publishing the new digital inclusion delivery framework for Nottingham and Nottinghamshire ICS.
We've got to
That's
get this
on the
right.
health
John Popham will be watching us. It's
in his
Nottingham
wheelhouse.
Forest and Notts County are the two football teams. You're not allowed to say Nottingham or Notts in the other order.
Oh, I see.
Very important.
Okay. Do I mention here the football match that happened last week between
What?
Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest?
I
No,
don't know what happened.
they didn't. Nottingham didn't win.
Ah, well, John was
Okay, we won't mention
a
that then.
Notts County supporter, so
Okay,
I think he
maybe
wouldn't be
you'd be
that
all right about
disappointed.
that.
He'd be laughing at us because neither of us really know what we're talking about, do we?
Name dropping. So this is from the NHS, and so Digital Knots, as the organisation here is called, has published its new digital inclusion delivery framework 2025 to 2030. That sounds. Why was it 2025? Anyway, maybe this was published. That year doesn't
No,
sound right. Maybe it was published last year.
it wasn't. It was
Anyway,
published
it's
on
been
April the
published.
10th, 2026, this
Oh,
story.
really? Okay, interesting.
That possibly says something in itself, but let's move
Possibly,
on.
yes. Anyway, it sets out a bold and unified system-wide approach
For last
to
year. No.
reducing digital exclusion and ensuring every resident and member of the health and care workforce can benefit from digital innovation. The framework, which is developed collaboratively with partners across health, local authorities, voluntary community organisations, and public representatives provides a clear roadmap for supporting digitally confident communities over the next 5 years. It builds on years of progress across Nottingham and Nottinghamshire, where targeted initiatives have already helped thousands of people access digital tools, develop skills, and engage more confidently with online health and care services. And there are 5 priority themes for the ICS with this publication. One is improving connectivity and access to devices and data. 2 is supporting digital accessibility and information literacy. 3 is building workforce digital skills and confidence. 4 is strengthening partnerships. And 5 is widening access to digital inclusion, knowledge, and expertise. And again, we're going to bring this to you as an example of what's being done in one part of the country and which could be used and probably is being used as a model elsewhere as well. So it's great to see this progress happening, and hopefully it's helping the people who need the help. So back again to a more global picture in the next story, and this is entitled, this is from CNBC Africa. This is entitled Digital Inclusion as a Systemic Economic Imperative for the Global Majority from CNBC Africa. And this talks about a project or program launched at the Digital Rights and Inclusion Forum in Abidjan. They report Beyond Resilience, the rising cost of digital exclusion for women reframes digital access from a social nice to have into a hard economic imperative. It finds that low and middle income countries have already forfeited 1.2 trillion in GDP over the past decade due to the digital divide, with a further 511 billion at risk by 2030. Wow. Joining CNBC Africa to break it all down is Onika Makwakwa, Executive Director and founder of the Global Digital Inclusion Partnership. And we're going to play a short video. If you can do that, Sweyn. I think it's further up in the picture. Is there a link
This one
there?
here.
Yeah, top right. Yeah. Is there a button there?
Oh yes,
Yellow,
sorry,
yeah.
I'm being really dim. Okay, here goes the video.
Launched at the Digital Rights and Inclusion Forum in Abidjan, Beyond Resilience, the rising cost
Can you hear
of
that?
digital exclusion.
It's a bit low.
Frames digital access from a nice to have into a hard economic imperative. It finds that low and middle income countries have already forfeited 1.2 trillion US dollars in GDP over the past decade due to the digital gender divide, with a further 511 billion US dollars at risk by 2030. Joining me to break it all down is Onika Makwakwa, the Executive Director and founder of the Global Digital Inclusion Partnership. Onika, thanks so much for your time. Now, when I came across your findings from the report, we know that gender parity remains a challenge across many areas of global development. But please do set the scene and specifically unpack the nuance of why the digital gender divide
is so
difficult and why it should not be the case.
Thank you, Kiana, for having me and, for having interest in this topic. It is really crucial that we address the gender digital divide more intentionally than we've done in the past 10 years or so. How this actually happens is that, the tendency is to count who is connected and how many people are connected. So we measure our progress based on the new connections and the number of people who are using digital services. However, the emerging divide is actually amongst those who are already connected in terms of how they are connected and what they use the connectivity for. And that's what we call meaningful connectivity, right? Makes the difference between just basic connectivity where you can use the internet once every 3 months with a device may not even be yours, right? But if you have access to use the internet on a daily basis with a minimum speed of at least 4G and an entry-level smart device, you have a better chance of having meaningful use of your connectivity. And we find that the gap for women is even wider when we measure their participation based on specifically meaningful connectivity. And there's various reasons for this. Women tend to be most affected by affordability. So the biggest reason why women said, we interviewed over 9,000 women in 10 countries. And what we heard was that affordability is one of the larger cause. But a shadow barrier that actually emerged throughout all of this is safety online. In fact, at the Digital Rights Forum that I attended, I was just really stunned when I heard a young woman running an initiative actually say that she has no digital footprint anymore because she was once harassed when she was younger and has since stayed away completely from any digital engagement. But the reality of harassment as well as scams and fraud that women experience online actually also contributes towards the divide where women are beginning to censor themselves and or just not participate. Affordability, when we talk about it, is also not just the cost of the data, but the cost of the devices. In some countries, women can't afford to have their own device and therefore have to share a device with a partner.
Again, a story we could listen to, you know, the whole thing, but it just illustrates similar things that are happening across the world, and very sad to hear about women having to self-censor because they're getting abuse online.
I think that's a global problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But great that work has been done, and congratulations to Annika and
No,
your
it sounded
colleagues
really
for.
clear and well thought out and good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when you look at the economies of it, it's a no-brainer. So yeah.
Astonishing.
I think we've got time for one more story, which is from Pakistan this time, and it's something I picked up on LinkedIn, written by Ramesha Razak, and the title is "Pakistan reduced its mobile internet gender gap this month." So that might have been last month. If is there
It's from 2 weeks ago. Yes,
yeah,
it'll
so
be
probably
in
last
last
month.
month.
So the story says that Pakistan reduced its mobile internet gender gap from 38% to 25% last month, with 800,000 women open digital wallets under the D4WEE program. The government called it progress on digital inclusion. It is, the person says, but it's worth asking what comes next. A digital wallet is an access point. What determines whether it becomes a tool for economic participation is everything that surrounds it. Whether a woman controls the device it sits on, whether she understands that the interface, whether she has income to put in it, whether the people around her allow her to use it independently, whether the financial products on the other side of that wallet were designed with her in mind or simply made available to her. Pakistani's female labour force participation sits between 20 and 24%. Its enforcement of women's economic rights scores 27.35 out of 100, not a high number. On the World Bank's WBL index, between 65 and 78% of working women are in the informal economy, largely invisible to the formal financial system a digital wallet connects them to. And there's more in the article.
So does that mean that only 5% of the women of the female labour force are in the formal employment, the formal economy as opposed to the informal economy?
Only 5%.
Well, if Pakistan's female labour force participation is between 20 and 25%, call it a quarter, and between 65 and 78% of them are in the informal economy, then that suggests that the number who have, as it were, well-regulated, proper, legally protected jobs, the proportion of the female workforce that have jobs of that type will be as low as 5 or 6%. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Room for improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can all learn from that.
Mind you, I don't know what the figures for our country or other so-called developed countries are. I mean, it'd be interesting to compare, but
I
I
imagine
don't
it's
think we'll be
higher,
quite
but
as bad
it's
as that.
it's always good to get the data, isn't it, and be able to see
That's really
the
made me think,
difference.
that one
Yeah,
again.
yeah. Just to say a bit about why we choose the stories we choose, because we we're not trying to educate everybody all the time, kind of bring you a whole finished story. We're kind of piquing your interest in what else is out there, and hopefully people will kind of pick up one or two stories, as Swain, as you've said, that kind of really make you think, in
I
the
think those last
in
two
the particular
stories,
episodes.
the common factor, or a common factor, is the question of who controls the device that women are accessing the digital world on. Is it their own device? Do they have autonomy? Or is there some controlling hand, whether it's another woman or probably more likely a man, controlling how the extent to which they're able to benefit from it? I think that's a really subtle question, which you could easily be lost among all the other digital inclusion facts and figures that we bandy around.
Yeah. And we often wouldn't talk about that in, as you say, so-called developed countries. So
Autonomy is part of digital confidence, or nearly. Safety, digital safety, I suppose.
yeah, well put, well
Yeah.
put. Have we got time to do the next one, or shall
Yes,
we?
of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
okay. So our last story for today is entitled "Universal Library Offers Information and Digital Offer," and this is kind of, we often have more often in the past talked about libraries, and we haven't more recently. So I just thought it was worth flagging this up, and this is new library connected infographics, but includes talk about what's available through most libraries. And so it's a kind of a shopping list here. So they say our universal library offers are the essential things that libraries do, developed with library leaders, workers, and users to give a framework for high quality library service and show the power of libraries to enrich lives. The University Library offer helps to build a consistent library service across the country, but they're flexible enough that local libraries can respond to the needs of their communities. So I think it was a kind of an illustration. I haven't got. Oh yeah, if you bring it up on the screen again, so it gives the different aspects there: digital inclusion, information and digital literacy, social connection, and developing skills. So something for everybody who would need them. And it gives a list then of the service offer with the infrastructure, improving digital inclusion, aiding development of information and digital literacy skills, innovating and upskilling people in developing technologies, and for networking and co-creation and continuous development. So, essential. We see libraries as essential to the lifeblood of a community, and we hope that others do and continue to make that available. Thanks, Swain. She's make it bigger on the screen there for
Finally
anybody
worked
who's
out how to make
catching
it
up.
actually readable across the link. There we are. There'll
So
be a
this
link.
looks like
A link. There'll be a link to the original in the show
in
notes.
the show notes, exactly. Yeah. It looks like a joint bit of work between Libraries Connected and the Good
No, it
Things
looks
Foundation.
amazing.
So
It looks
yeah,
really good.
yeah.
No,
Good
lots
to
of good
bring
stories this
that to
week.
people's
Lots of really
attention.
interesting ones. Not
Yeah,
that they aren't all very interesting, each of them
absolutely.
in their own way.
So thanks for joining us today. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please contact us. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks very much. Bye now.
Bye.
You're finished. Okay. Bye.